The deafening silence has been broken. This past week has been nothing but a self-induced downward death spiral for Dungeons & Dragons and Wizards of the Coast. It's truly impressive how they've managed to make a bad situation so much worse simply by saying absolutely nothing. Over a week after the alleged draft of the updated OGL 1.1 was leaked online, Wizards of the Coast has finally released a statement in response to the immense community backlash, which culminated in the mass cancellation of D&D Beyond subscriptions through the D&D Be Gone and Stop the Sub hashtags, which were heavily trending yesterday. In an email circulated to prominent community members from a WotC employee, it became clear that the community merely presented an obstacle to WotC's money, and that the only way to potentially influence them is to hit them where it hurts, and that is exactly what we turned out in droves to do. If I sound scathing or bitter, it's because I am. And I know that many in this community are feeling the exact same way right now. We spent countless hours playing and loving this game for years, and many of us have invested hundreds or even thousands of dollars into books, maps, terrains, minis, and dice, and it kind of feels like we just had the rug pulled out from beneath us. With that in mind, I want to discuss the statement released today by Wizards of the Coast and a few common sentiments that have been echoing around the community for the last few days. I want to take some time to discuss these because they resonate a lot with the struggle that I've been having in relation to this game and the situation, and I'm sure they will for many others as well. Firstly, to be extremely clear, the response posted by Wizards of the Coast at the moment is nothing but PR. Creative wording and intentional omissions leave a lot of space for interpretation and can allow them to still execute on their goals while not respecting the community. It should come as no surprise that the opening paragraph of the statement provides nothing in the form of an apology. Instead, it uses subversive language to remind us all of the true evils that are clearly NFTs and other large corporations. While I won't say that some of their stated goals aren't admirable, such as attempting to prevent their content from being used in products that contain hateful or discriminatory themes or language, it's also hard to not feel like that isn't simply designed to help keep you on their side. Outside of a lot of PR speak, there are a few key things that are worth mentioning. Firstly, they mention that any OGL update is only intended to cover content relating to TTRPGs and nothing else, such as educational and charitable campaigns, live streams, cosplay, and VTTs. One of the biggest potential wins is that they do state that content originally published under the OGL 1.0a will remain unaffected. While on the face of it, this sounds like a big win, as a huge sticking point from the leaked document was the revocation of the previous OGL license. However, it still remains very unclear what their wording actually entails. Content already released could mean a lot of things. If the creator updates that content, does that invalidate their OGL 1.0a license? What about any future works? Just because older products will not have their licenses retroactively revoked does not suggest that people can continue to create under the OGL 1.0a. There's a lot of ambiguity here, and we will need to wait until the full document is published to know what this looks like. They go on to state that any royalty structure has been removed from the updated OGL, though interestingly, I think that this was actually one of the least offensive parts of the document, aside from the fact that the royalty percentage was absurdly and offensively high. Possibly the biggest win and question of all stemming from the statement is that they state that WotC will not, under any circumstances, own or have the opportunity to publish, distribute, or profit off of a creator's work under the new OGL. The alleged draft document was pretty clear that they would be able to do these things. However, WotC is now claiming that it is merely a risk prevention measure on their part to prevent anyone from going after them if something they publish in the future is similar to something else that a creator has already published. While this very well might be true, and I'll go ahead and give them the benefit of the doubt about this, the fact that they openly admit to that thought never crossing their mind says a lot more about their legal teams, future planning, and business relationship teams than they probably intended to admit. Overall, the things that they say in this statement are good, and I would consider them to be a real win for the community or a win for everyone, as they painfully state, provided any of it is actually true. The real test will be to see the actual updated OGL provisions to see how they follow through, or if this was all PR and hollow promises intended to stem the bleeding. I remain cautiously optimistic for the time being, but I'm certainly not holding my breath either. At the end of the day, Dungeons & Dragons is an intellectual property owned by Wizards of the Coast, and they have every right to want to protect and appropriately be compensated for use of that IP. This is a fundamental truth, and I honestly don't think that any reasonable or rational person would suggest otherwise. The issue here is the nuance of and the extent to which they are willing to damage their brand reputation to protect their IP. It's pretty obvious here that the long-term play was, at least, hoping people simply forget and move on, as evidenced by the email circulated yesterday. We as a community are nothing but an obstacle to WotC's money. Reducing such a vibrant and diverse group down to mere dollars and cents is as insulting as it is desperate. The IP was doing just fine, bringing in $1 billion in revenue, and with such a wide variety of products ready to roll out, including more books, movies, shows, collectibles, minis, and so much more. The IP clearly wasn't being damaged by the few large companies making some reasonable amounts of money off of OGL content, and it certainly wasn't being damaged by the die-hard fans who dedicate their spare time to their passion, many of which do it for free, or some to even just earn a few dollars. The irony of this whole situation, as alluded to earlier, is that in their desperate attempts to allegedly protect their IP, they've managed to shed so much goodwill that it's hard to imagine a reality where they come back from this, despite the recent statement. They've managed to alienate so many paying customers and have spawned the D&D Begone hashtag, which is again trending pretty hard right now, and is calling on people to cancel their D&D Beyond subscriptions. Many prominent figures in the community have already done so, including Ted from Nerd Immersion, Ginny D, Jacob from XP to Level 3, and so many others. What Wizards seems to have not realized is that these people have large audiences, and large audiences that will follow and support what their favorite creators do, not just because it's what they do, but because it's the right thing to do. It's so much more than just a few people. We're talking about thousands upon thousands of people who are canceling their subscriptions, all in a response to a terrible decision that WotC has made. Congratulations, Wizards, you played yourself. It's not that simple. As easy as it sounds to just jump ship and play a different game, the reality is that it is much easier said than done. Obviously, it's not impossible, I'm not saying that it is. What I am saying, though, is that many have invested considerable amounts of both money and time into resources for Dungeons & Dragons, and to just leave all that on the table and move to a different game is a tall ask. Sure, a lot of material can be transferable, but not everything will be. This also doesn't account for the fact that many people playing D&D and other tabletop RPGs are just really busy with work or school or personal lives, so to carve out time to learn a new system is a similarly tall ask. So many groups struggle to play weekly or even monthly, so forget about trying to get these same people to set aside some time to learn a new system. For them, you're turning their relaxing Thursday night into more work, and that just simply won't function for a lot of people. This obviously is not the case for everyone, as I am sure that there are plenty who love to explore different rule sets and systems and find that part of the game in and of itself to be an enjoyable part, and to those people, you will have no trouble here. The other side effect of moving to a different game can actually be both a pro and a con. The splintering that is likely to occur as a result of this debacle can, in one sense, make the community feel a little bit weaker and less cohesive, but simultaneously, this will shine a light on the countless other amazing systems that have been shunned from the limelight as a result of the sheer dominance of Dungeons & Dragons, and that is exciting. When all is said and done, what you do is ultimately your call. As angry and frustrated as I am, I still feel so conflicted. I do love this game, and on the one hand, I wonder if I can just separate the art from the artist. Mentally split the two and hopefully still be able to enjoy the end result. It's hard for me not to feel like the people making these calls aren't D&D team members, but rather Hasbro executives that have dug their way into a spot that they know nothing about. I've seen a whole bunch of polls from communities like Nerd Immersion and comicbook.com, and it seems like many are actually in the same boat as me. It seems a lot of us are still holding out hope for this community that we helped grow and want to continue playing the game that we love. I am really curious to see where WotC goes with this off the back of their recent statement, and I am hopeful it will spell good things for the future. But I guess we'll really have to wait and see until the revised OGL updated document has been revealed. But until we really see what they have in store, go ahead and cancel your D&D Beyond subscription.